everyone. In this session, we will discuss the different terms we use in UV visible spectroscopy. So let's start with what is chromophore. So the part of a molecule which is responsible for imparting the color in a molecule is called chromophores, or an isolated covalently bonded groups that show its characteristics absorption in UV visible region, and even a small structural change brings about change in lambda of absorption is known as chromophore. Or in other words, it may be the functional group containing multiple bonds capable of absorbing radiation above than 200 nanometers due to N2 pi star and pi 2 pi star transition are known as chromophore. So these are the example of functional groups. Those are also known as chromophore, like NO2, N double bond O, C double bond O, C double bond N, C triple bond N, CC, and C double bond S. Second term is auxochrome. So the functional group attached to a chromophore, which modifies the ability of the chromophore to absorb light or altering the wavelength of intensity of absorption. Or in other words, we can say the functional group with non-bonding electrons that does not absorb radiation in near UV region, but when attached to a chromophore alters the wavelength and intensity of absorption. So means chromophore and auxochrome, when they combine, they forms a new chromophore which having higher lambda max value. And the example of auxochromes are OH group, OR, NH2, NHR, NR2, SH, etc. Now we also use some other terms to tell about the shifting in the lambda max or intensity. So these terms are, so this is the lambda max for a molecule, and this is the maximum intensity of absorbance. So if lambda max move towards the right, it will be red shift or bathochromic shift. If it moves towards the left hand side, it will be blue shift or hypsochromic shift. If intensity got increased, it's known as hyperchromic shift, or if it decrease, it is hypochromic shift. So in other words, we can say that substituent may have any of four effects on a chromophore. Like if you have lambda max for a chromophore and you make it substituted by a group, it can change its lambda max and its absorption intensity. So for example, this is the chromophore which shows lambda max at X nanometer, and this is the UV spectrum for this molecule. Now you install one substituent, that is S1, which increase the lambda max by 20 nanometer, means its lambda max become now X plus 20 nanometer. So this is bathochromic shift, means lambda max got increased due to this S1 substituent. Now if you install another substituent, that is S2, and it decrease the lambda max by 20, means its lambda max now become X minus 20 nanometer. So this shifting will be hypsochromic shifting. Now if intensity got decrease of this absorbance, it will be hypochromic shift, or if it increase, that will be hyperchromic shifting. So these are the terms we use to define the shifting in lambda max and in intensity due to the substituent on chromophore. And the hypochromic effect and hyperchromic effect depends on the concentration and the molecular extinction coefficient. And now we will discuss them in more details. So bathochromic shift, when absorption maxima of a compound shifts to longer wavelength, it is known as bathochromic shift or red shift, and the effect is due to the presence of an auxochrome or by the change of solvent. So an auxochrome groups like OH, OCS3 cause absorption of compound at longer wavelength, or they create bathochromic shift. So this is the example of a bathochromic shift. In alkaline medium, paranitrophenol shows red shift or bathochromic shift. If you see the paranitrophenol, which shows the lambda max 255 nanometer, if you use it in alkaline medium, the lambda max got increased and it become 265 nanometer. Now why it become from 255 nanometer to 265 nanometer under the alkaline medium? So because in case of pure paranitrophenol, the lone pair on oxygen is not effectively delocalized with the pi electrons of the ring. But when you use it in an alkaline medium, the proton got abstract and it become O negative. Now negatively charged oxygen delocalize more effectively than the unshared pair of electrons. So means there will be increment in the conjugation. And as we have discussed in previous lecture, as conjugation increase, lambda max also increases. So this increment in conjugation increase the lambda max of paranitrophenol in alkali medium slightly from 250 nanometer to 265 nanometer. Next is a hypsochromic shift. So when absorption maxima of a compound shifts to shorter wavelength, it is known as hypsochromic shift or blue shift. And the effect is due to presence of any group cause removal of conjugation or by the change of solvent. So means here you are decreasing the conjugation. If conjugation decreases, lambda max will be towards the blue shift or hypsochromic shift. So this is the example. Aniline shows blue shift in acidic medium because it loses conjugation in acidic medium, because the lone pair of nitrogen is effectively delocalized with the pi electrons of benzene ring, because nitrogen is less electronegative than oxygen. But if you use it in acidic medium, this lone pair will share with hydrogen, means this NH2 group will be protonated and it becomes this ammonium type of salt. Means this lone pair will not be available now to get delocalized with this pi electrons. So means conjugation gets decreased here. As conjugation gets decreased, the lambda max will move towards the blue shift or hypsochromic shift. Now we'll see the representation of instrument we use in UV spectrum. So here we use energy source D2 lamp and tungsten lamp. So D2 lamp is for getting the UV radiation in the 180 to 400 nanometer range. Tungsten lamp we use to get visible light in 400 to 800 nanometer range. Second component we use in UV spectrum is monochromator. So it disperses the radiation obtained from the source into the separate wavelength. And the most widely used dispersing element is a prism or grating made up of quartz, because quartz is transparent throughout the UV range. It does not absorb the UV light. And the last component we use is the detector. These have photocells or photomultiplier tubes which generate voltage proportional to the radiation energy that strikes them after passing through the sample. In a typical double beam instruments, the light emanating from the light source is split into two beams, the sample beam and a reference beam. This is the reference beam and this is the sample beam. When there is no sample cell in the reference beam, the detected light is taken to the equal to the intensity of light entering the sample. Now we have to be very careful choosing the solvent for UV visible spectroscopy, because the choice of the solvent to be used in UV visible is quite important. So the first criteria for a good solvent is that it should not absorb ultraviolet radiation in the same region as the substance whose spectrum is being determined. Second criteria for a good solvent is its effects on the fine structure of an absorption band. A non-polar solvent does not make hydrogen bond with the solutes spectrum has fine band. While in polar solvent, like you can see here, the polar solvent, the hydrogen bonding forms a solute-solvent complex and the fine structure may disappear. So this spectrum has taken in the presence of two solvents. One is ethanol and second is isooctane. So ethanol can make hydrogen bond with the solute and the fine structure getting disappear in the case of ethanol. While when we use isooctane as a solvent, we are able to see this fine structure, because isooctane is not able to make the hydrogen bond with the sample. Second is important things how to handle the sample in UV spectrum. So for loading the sample in UV spectrum, we use cuvettes, and cuvettes generally are made by glass or quartz. But glass absorbs UV radiation, so we don't use them for UV. We just use them for visible spectrometer. For quartz, they don't absorb UV radiation, and we use them in UV visible spectrometer. And the general thickness of sample cuvette is 1 centimeter. Now the application of UV spectrometer, so it helpful to tell the extent of conjugation in molecules. So addition of unsaturation shifts the absorption toward longer wavelength. It distinguishes between conjugated and non-conjugated compounds. So mainly we can use UV spectrometer to find the conjugation available in the molecules. Second, it is useful to study the isomerism in the molecule because trans isomer always absorb at higher wavelength than cis isomers. So this is a cis isomer, this is trans isomer, and this has lambda max at 278, this has 294. So we can easily find that which one is trans isomer and which one is the cis isomer of still when using UV spectrometer. UV spectrometer also has some limitation because routine UV visible spectra are typically collected from 200 to 700 nanometer, and special equipment to study vacuum or far UV is required. Because if you want to do UV spectrum lower than 200 nanometer, you have to use special equipment which is working under the vacuum, because oxygen in the atmosphere is not transparent below 200 nanometer, and it can also absorb UV light below than 200 nanometer. So this limits the transition that can be observed, because they all transition does not absorb above than 200 nanometer. So now we have to depend only on the pi to pi star transition and n to pi star transition to get the information about organic molecules. And this transition is occurs only if molecules has pi bond, and it has non-bonding lone pair of electrons containing atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, and halogens. And thank you very much.